From Rory McIlroy. What just happened has left the PGA completely stunned. After months of speculation, criticism, and whispers that his best days were behind him, McIlroy delivered a performance at the Players' Championship that reminded the entire golfing world exactly who he is. Under the bright Florida sun, he didn't just win, he owned the tournament. Every swing, every putt, every decision was vintage. Rory, fearless, fluid, and full of purpose. The crowd erupted. The cameras flashed, and for the first time in a long while, it felt like golf Hadith's hero back. But as the cheers echoed through TPC Soras, the question wasn't just how he did it. It was what this victory really meant, because this wasn't just another trophy. It was a message to the critics, to the doubters, and even to the PGA itself. When McIlroy walked off the 18th green, embracing his wife Erica and daughter Poppy in tears, it wasn't just emotion, it was vindication. Months earlier, he had faced scrutiny and controversy that threatened to derail his season. Now, in one defining moment, he had silenced every voice that questioned his drive, his focus, or his future. This wasn't a comeback story. It was a declaration of dominance. The PGA officials and even rival players couldn't believe what they were seeing. After all the drama surrounding McIlroy's equipment, his form, and even his off-sea course tensions, the Irishman had turned it all into fuel. His final round wasn't cautious or conservative. It was a masterclass in confidence. Each birdie felt like a statement. Each fist pump felt personal. He wasn't just playing to win. He was making a point. And that point hit harder than anyone expected. Rory McIlroy is far from done. As the final scoreboard lit up with his name, the golf world could feel the shift. The PGA had witnessed something bigger than Owen. They'd witnessed a resurgence, a turning of the tide. But what McIlroy overcame to reach this moment, that's where the real story begins. When the world counted him out, Rory McIlroy went quiet and got to work. In the weeks following the driver controversy, he disappeared from the spotlight. No bold statements, no interviews, no social media distractions, just early mornings on the range and late nights under floodlights. He rebuilt his rhythm swing by swing, refusing to let the scandal define him. Insiders close to his camp said he became obsessed studying ball flight, spin rates, and launch angles like an engineer on a mission. It wasn't about proving the PGA wrong anymore. It was about proving himself right. The whispers of doubt were loud, but McIlroy was preparing to silence them the only way he knew how, by winning. By the time he arrived at the Players' Championship, something had changed. You could see it in his walk. The way he gripped the club, the way his eyes locked onto every target. The same confidence that once made him unstoppable was back sharper, stronger, and calmer. His drives looked effortless, his putting laser-focused. Commentators who had written him off started shifting their tone. One perfect shot at the iconic 17th hole summed it all up. Pure, fearless dead center. The crowd roared, but Rory didn't flinch. Hess simply nodded, knowing this was his moment. The comeback wasn't unfolding, it was exploding into reality. Then came the moment no one will forget. After sinking the final putt to seal victory, McIlroy dropped his putter, exhaled, and walked straight into the arms of his wife Erica and their daughter Poppy. Cameras captured the tears, the laughter, the release of months of tension. It wasn't just relief, it was redemption. He had weathered the doubt, the controversy, and the pressure, and emerged stronger than ever. That embrace told the story words couldn't. Rory McIlroy was back, and the PGA knew it. As fans cheered and broadcasters scrambled to capture the significance of what had just happened, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just another McIlroy win. It was a defining chapter in his legacy, a statement to every critic that he's still the heartbeat of modern golf. But as the celebration began, the ripple effects of this victory were only just starting to shake the PGA to its core. The shockwaves from Rory McIlroy's triumph spread fast, not just through fans, but deep inside the PGA itself. Within days of his victory, the organization that had once questioned his equipment and composure suddenly found itself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. According to Reuters, the PGA of America CEO issued a public apology to McIlroy and his family for the vile fan abuse he endured during the Ardor Cup earlier that season. It was rare, almost unheard of for the PGA to admit fault so openly. Their apology wasn't just about one event. It was about how they had underestimated the emotional weight McIlroy carried all year. It wasn't just Rory who had something to prove. The PGA did too, and the world was watching. For years, McIlroy had been both the face and conscience of modern golf, defending its traditions, challenging its flaws, and speaking his mind when few dared to. But only after his comeback did the establishment truly recognize what he meant to the sport. Commentators who once labeled him volatile were now calling him a symbol of resilience. Even critics inside the PGA began praising his composure and leadership. As The Sun reported, organizers admitted they hadn't heard the worst of the abuse until after the event, an admission that sounded more like damage control than honesty. Their tone had shifted from authority to apology. For the first time in years, the PGA looked smaller than its star player. Behind closed doors, McIlroy's victory sparked uncomfortable conversations about crowd behavior, player treatment, and the PGA's credibility with its top athletes. The league that had long demanded respect from its players was now being forced to give it back. Fans online called for stricter standards and more accountability from tournament officials. Even rival players quietly applauded McIlroy for taking the high road and letting his golf speak louder than words. Rory hadn't just won a championship, he'd shifted the power dynamic in professional golf. By the end of that week, one thing was undeniable. The PGA's biggest name had just reminded them who really carried the sport's heart and headlines. But McIlroy's story wasn't finished because what came next would define his legacy forever. Rory McIlroy's victory didn't just mark the end of a controversy. It marked the beginning of a new era. With the player's championship trophy back in his hands and the golfing world once again in awe, attention immediately turned to what comes next. For McIlroy, this wasn't just about winning another title. It was about redefining his legacy. Every comeback moment in sport has a second act, and this is Rory's. The schedule ahead is packed from Augusta to St. Andrews, and every tee shot will now carry more than the usual weight. Fans aren't just expecting results, they're expecting history, because after everything he's endured, anything less than greatness simply won't satisfy him or the world watching. The win also changed how younger players see him. For the new generation rising through the ranks, Rory has become something more than a rival. He's a standard. Players like Viktor Hovland and Ludvig Åberg often cite him as an inspiration, but now that inspiration feels real, tangible. His calmness under pressure, his willingness to speak up, and his ability to rise after every setback have become the blueprint for modern golfers. And for the PGA, history is a lifeline. In an era where loyalty, integrity, and authenticity feel rare, McIlroy has given the organization exactly what it needed. A hero who stands for more than scorecards and sponsorships. The PGA needed a facade to believe in again, and it found it in Rory McIlroy. But even heroes have a sense of humor. In a recent Talkport interview, McIlroy laughed about his worst purchase ever, a luxury car he bought with his first paycheck that broke down within weeks. The story made fans smile because it showed something important. Behind the trophies and headlines, he's still just Rory, the kid from Northern Ireland who loves the game. It's that humility, not just his talent, that keeps the world rooting for him. From scandal to victory, from doubt to dominance, Rory McIlroy reminded the golf world who he really is, and why he's still its beating heart. Do you think